Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 181, which is called The Vessel. This is the first episode of this manga adaptation arc, which is covering obviously volume 5 onwards, the AO arc as it's sort of known, and this episode adapts the first chapter of volume 5 pretty much exactly accurately. Borderline scene for scene, speech bubble by speech bubble, this episode hits all of the key points here. A very accurate adaptation. Of course, there are some additions because we have so much more context going into this arc in the anime than we did in the manga. Just in the sense that in this episode, like Victor, we know so much more about because we had the whole last arc sort of featuring the character, and even just the last couple of episodes, we know what exactly he was up to explain why he's in this position of like needing to defend himself and why he is, killed by like the rest of the group. That's really, really interesting. In terms of like, yeah, they needed to do that. As we go forward, we'll see that Mugino is going to, I suppose, potentially get more attention in this arc than he did in the manga, because he was just sort of there in the manga. But now we know the character quite well, so they have to do service to that character, absolutely. In terms of other stuff that they added in, it's like, okay, at the in the stands during the Boruto and Naruto sparring match, they feature a lot of the Boruto classmates that you don't typically see in the manga, but are in the anime. Whereas it's only like the main cast, pretty much, the absolute main cast that you see in the manga chapter. So a lot of that stuff is just like, okay, that's a cool addition. The other notable thing is that in the opening scene, which is the Kara meeting, Genjutsu meeting, is Code actually gets to talk, and they sort of focus on him, so they sort of reveal his character design here, which, I suppose we technically saw maybe through some of the openings, but in terms of being in an episode, we saw that here, but that really wasn't a thing in this chapter, and I don't think Code got revealed until a little bit later on, but it makes sense that he's in this scene and gets a chance to speak a little bit. So minor changes, but mainly minor changes to add in stuff that is revealed later, but makes sense to be included at this point. The scene where Amado is looking at Deepa's head, of course, is a new scene for the anime, because Deepa, of course, is only in the last arc with Victor, so that was not at all here, but it gives extra context to how the group sort of knows that Victor is potentially responsible for a little bit more of this, in that he regenerated Deepa's brain, and he's able to, the impression I got was able to, know what Deepa saw during his dealings with Victor, and was aware that Victor had sort of traitorous ideas and so on, went against the plan. And so that's ultimately why he's killed later on by Kashin Koji, which it is a cool moment, because in the manga, Victor's death just sort of happened. Like, he's just this character, he's an inner member of Kara, and they just kill him. Now we know the full context behind that, and that adds a lot. That really does add so much to the scene, knowing that, especially what happened very recently in the anime, that yes, he took control of the airship and was trying to sort of take the vessel for himself, but he didn't take down the airship. He didn't make that explosion on the airship happen. That was someone else, and we don't know what the exact answer to that is. So when he's defending himself against the others, it is truthful to some degree, but he is traitorous in another sense. So that added a lot to the scene as well, and that desperation is him knowing that he's guilty to some degree, but that he's being sort of framed for another aspect of it. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, Kashin Koji comes in and just kills Victor. Says a little bit to him, but kills him. And Yeah, he kills him with this really interesting fire style jutsu. Was it the Truance of True Flames? I think it is the Truance of True Flames, and that even Victor's amazing regeneration won't be able to stop this jutsu. So this seems like a good way to counter someone capable of regeneration, is to do an Amaterasu style fire jutsu that's just going to keep them set on fire and keep them reusing their regeneration. And so this is how Victor is killed. Gets across immediately how powerful Kashin Koji is, that with one jutsu he's able to just completely annihilate Victor. So now that Kashin Koji is sort of on the case here to find the vessel, but they do clarify that he's just going to be the one to assign one of the outers the task of getting the vessel back. So right now, the inners of Kara don't really see the vessel retrieval as being something that requires the inners to be like directly involved with, so they can leave it to the outers, which obviously if you've seen the preview for the next episode and all of the setup, you know that the outer that they're going to be choosing is a certain character named right here. That's the whole point of the arc, and they basically spoil it in the preview for the next episode. So that's kind of interesting in terms of like, oh wow, that's a surprise. I can't believe they did that. But still, cool stuff with Kara coming up. I suppose we'll for now skip over this sparring match to jump to, I suppose, the other scenes of like, obviously the mission that Konohamaru and Mugino are going on is the mission to investigate this airship crash. So they arrive on the scene, and our cliffhanger ending is Konohamaru finding the sort of like, coffin-like vessel that the vessel was actually in, but there's nothing there, so something's happened. But you then zoom back out, and something is approaching the two of them and has come to fight them. So action upcoming for Konohamaru and Mugino. That's very accurate. Again, the hope would be that the anime gives Mugino more of a chance to shine after we've had all of the setup from like the last arc and so on with him, especially the very last episode, 180, being like a Mugino flashback episode. You really hope they give him the chance to shine in this arc, because he kind of was just there in the manga, so there's a requirement to utilize that character better in the anime. So there's that. As for the other big scene of the episode, which is obviously the Boruto-Naruto sparring match, this was again set up in the anime setup arc, which was really good. We knew Boruto asked Naruto for this match, and that Naruto had promised that he would make sure to find time to do this sparring match. But also, we did get the setup for Katasuke delivering the scientific ninja tool arm to Naruto. So that was all cool to see that there's more behind that than just, in the manga. Here's this sparring match that you didn't really hear about before. So that all worked really well. I like the scenes beforehand with like almost like the corner men of like each character, just giving them like a final talk to before this match. It got across that it was kind of an important, this was an important sparring match, both in terms of the skills both characters were going to display, as well as just, finally after what happened in the like very first arc of the anime, we're kind of the manga, sorry, we're getting past that Naruto is going to be using a scientific ninja tool in this fight, and Boruto is going to be attempting to sort of redeem himself in this one after, getting to such a low point after being outed as cheating during the tuning exams. And so he's done all the training, he's put in the hard work at this point, and has sort of, at this point, gotten himself to the point where he has a massive amount of jutsu, almost to the point where, like, does he need the scientific ninja tool to add all this extra jutsu? He can do quite a bit more now. So that's an interesting point, is that, they sort of choreographed the fight in a way where he does similar techniques that he did using the ninja tools, but without them here, to show his growth as a character. And the fight itself, I think, just is really cool. Like, it's Naruto on the defensive at the start. He lets Boruto sort of come at him and just defends and swats everything away, with the setup over the course of the fight being that, wait, Naruto is just slapping these Rasengans out of the way and they're just sort of like disappearing. What's going on here? Is this some like crazy advanced technique where you can like deflect jutsu by using chakra? No. Eventually, by the end of the fight, it gets revealed that Naruto's scientific ninja tool arm is absorbing jutsu in a similar way to the Otsutsuki's were capable of doing. Specifically, they focused on Momoshiki's ability to do this, and that the ninja tool isn't perfect because Momoshiki was able to absorb something and then send it back out at a much higher power level. This can't do that, but as a defensive weapon, it's really, really good. So Naruto's big move to win the fight, of course, is that Boruto does his big move in an attempt to win the fight, which is water style, and then he adds lightning style into it. So he sends basically a river of water at Naruto, electrified water. It's this wide-ranging move. How can Naruto block this? He just, boom, earth wall, creates a big earth wall to stop it. So he kind of creates some sort of a dam-like situation. And then he just punches his prosthetic arm through the wall, opens the hand up, and it starts to just suck up all of the water and lightning. So this is what confirms to us it's absorbing the jutsu. But then all of a sudden, as Boruto moves in for the kill, Naruto appears behind him, and, you know, we get the whole idea of, you know, like, you got distracted by this thing. And the lesson here is, by the end, like, Boruto's a bit annoyed that Naruto used a ninja tool, but the point here is that they're not inherently bad. It's more that, like, Boruto, you used the ninja tool as a support in an exam that is meant to prove how skilled you individually are. That is different than a sparring match. That is different than a fight out in the field, where it doesn't particularly matter if you use a tool to add to your skill set. The problem was that Boruto was using the tool to sort of be his skill set. They didn't quite say it that way, but they get across that, look, ninja tools are valuable and you can use them in a lot of different ways, like Naruto used it as a distraction here. So just highlighting that, you know, the use of the ninja tools should more of be an accompaniment rather than the main thing. As Naruto showed by the fact that he ultimately finished the fight with a kick, you know, his own skill, not necessarily like finishing him off with the power of the ninja tool. That was just an incredible distraction. So kind of Boruto learning something of like, okay, so I can actually bring ninja tools into the field with me to add onto the skill set. Just that learning of he needed to develop his jutsu, but that he can use ninja tools to add to that. That was the overall point that they were trying to make, and we see that like Sasuke has arrived back and so on. So that's all really good. And obviously the ninja tools are going to be a very important part of this arc as we go forward. Probably going to learn about that in the next episode. And that leaves us with, I think the only scene I didn't talk about was, we do get the scene with Amado looking at Deepa's head in the jar, which was new, of course. And, you know, that was just a nice scene to show that Amado sort of has the trust of Jigen and is allowed to sort of not participate in meetings because his research is so valuable. In this case, obviously, he was like analyzing, you know, Deepa's memories, I guess, to figure out stuff about Victor, and, you know, that's how that all came together. So, I suppose to round off the review, just pretty impressive start to this manga adaptation arc. So far, like the previous manga arc, actually, the Shoujoji arc, they're being very, very accurate, adding in a few little scenes that add context, utilizing the fact that of late, the way they've done it is that they have done a whole like setup arc before the manga arc to add extra context, and just the references to that have worked really well to just connect the anime together more so than the manga. It does make the anime really feel like it is it's it is meant to be the main sort of like material for Boruto because it features more of the characters and it is connecting things together a lot more. And just just the way they're telling the story here, it just feels like, yeah, this is all kind of coming together quite nicely. And obviously, this is only the start of this arc. There's so much more to come. We have to get Ao reintroduced. The whole thing with the vessel is going to come to light, which, if you saw the new opening, you probably maybe have a sense for what is going on here. So, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this episode, especially if you are anime only. I would really like to know what your thoughts are on, say, like, Kashin Koji, I suppose, making his big kind of debut here and so on. But yeah, they're my thoughts. That's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.